The views and opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of Access Fort Wayne, the Allen County Public Library, or any other supporting groups. If you'd like to produce a show, call us at 260-421-1250.
Hello and welcome to the American Veteran. I'm Dale Parrish, your host. My co-host is Carl Fowler, and joining us also is Harry Harvey, a Navy veteran. Our guest today is Ski Wisniewski. He's a Navy frogman. Welcome to the show, Ski. Exactly what is a frogman?
Same as a SEAL is today. We went through most of the same stuff they did in Bud School, and they're more advanced today, of course, but we're talking 62 years ago, and we're talking right after World War II when the United States was not ready for a war, and the equipment we had was stored and secondhand, or however you want to word it. It wasn't the best of the equipment. We went through school and trained with charts, ammunitions, and things like that. Same thing. Basic duties of an underwater demolition guy is clear the beaches for advancing troops and work from there. Of course, we're talking a lot of training in between this, a lot of hard, severe training.
You're talking about clearing the beaches of mines
and
underwater
obstacles,
mines?
Any kind of obstacles. Yeah. Like I say, I went in 50 and didn't even get overseas until 51. Well, I take that back. They took us on a trip to take a bunch of recon Marines to Japan. They interrupted our training, and by that time we were good swimmers and everything like that, so we were kind of like a lifeguard unit also. When guys would go over the side on those cargo nets and be full battle dress, rifle pack and all that stuff, I guess some of that stuff weighs about 40 pounds, 50 pounds, and they crawl over the side of the ship.
Probably more.
Yep, and if they slip into the water there, well, we were on board to get them up.
Did that happen?
Not often, but when it did, it usually the guy would hit the tide was rolling and turning and stuff like that, and going down a cargo net and this little landing craft going up and down and pitching back and forth. It was pretty hazardous for them. And if they did slip, they would hit their head, knock them unconscious or something like that. We had to get them up because they'd go right straight to the bottom otherwise. It was a touchy thing, no messing around, of course, you know. And those guys, they're Army personnel. They're not used to that tossing and turning. They were half sick to start with before they went over the side. I felt so sorry for them because they were. I don't know how to get this through without being gory about it, but they were heaving already. They were seasick. Sure. And they had to go on those little landing craft, and after they got on there, that was twice as bad as being on that ship. It was, I didn't like that part of it, you know, but...
Your duty then to help them out, was you in the water or was you on a ship?
No, not always. Not always. We'd be no good in the water because, you know, the ship was landing, the landing craft was bouncing around too.
So if they went in, then you just went in after them?
Over the side. Yeah, I got a side of a ship here. This is our boat, landing craft for underwater demolitions team, and it's just like that. It's called a PR boat for personnel, and the ship was only 8 feet off of water, 10 feet off the water, the quarter deck part of it, and they'd go right off the quarter deck into the boat, and just simple drop right over the side, and you could grab hold of them, you know.
Sure. You could get to them quick.
Yeah, real.
Which is very important, sure.
So, yeah, and talking about life preserving and things like that, underwater team was also in these boats getting ready for when aircraft were taken off of carriers.
Okay.
If a guy would take off a carrier and he'd bank or wouldn't make it, you know, and hit the water with that plane, we had about, you could say, 10, 15 minutes to get out there and wherever he was, because if he got unconscious, we'd have to get him out of that plane quick because he'd go right down with the plane.
So you had boats to go out to them?
Right. We're in boats. We're not in the water all the time.
Now they go out with them with choppers, don't they?
Choppers were we didn't have a lot of helicopters in those days.
I know that.
Yeah. And now it's simple. They got helos flying all around the place, and
sure.
And if the same thing when they came in the plane, if they missed the hook and didn't have enough power to take off again, we had to get them out of those aircraft quick.
So you had quick response.
Quick response, yes, very quick. We were all good swimmers, and that was part of it. As far as happening every time, it didn't happen every time.
But you were on standby all the time.
Yeah, right. So it's just one of our duties outside of clearing mines and things like that. I have some small pictures, but all my stuff is in little slides like this, and I gotta find a way to convert those. And a lot of it went up in my folks' house. I had kept all my stuff in my folks' house, and it burnt down and burned a lot of my stuff up.
You mentioned that you go into the beaches and clear mines and
debris and all kinds
of anything that was there that would stop a landing or hinder it.
Right. It was.
How did you get to the beach?
In a landing craft. This landing craft take us in about 500 yards of the beach. Then we'd use a rubber raft or swim in. That's a piece of cake, you know. Getting in there and being undetected was the thing.
That's what I was going to ask.
Yep.
Yeah.
Being undetected. We didn't want to splash around. You didn't want your tanks flashing in the night light or moonlight or anything like that. In the first place, we didn't try to go when the moon was up or anything. We went darkness.
So you guys invented the word stealth.
I'm sorry?
So you guys invented the word stealth. We have
well,
stealth fighters and bombers now, and you guys were the first stealth.
Main thing was not being detected that you were there, we after that we charted, and then there'd be another team after us that would follow and do the same routine we did. We charted all this stuff, and then they'd go back to CIC, Combat Information Center, and we'd turn this stuff in and match it up, you know. And
sure, they verified what you guys did. Yeah.
Every beach we went to didn't mean that they were going to land at that beach. It all depended on the tide, the surface, and the currents, and so forth and so on.
What tools did you carry with you?
Not much. We carried our supplies, our charts, compasses, things like that, and we didn't have no arms. We didn't carry like the SEALs today. They go and they got this full weapon stuff, and that'd be interesting. But we didn't have that. We just had a knife on our leg, and sometimes a .45 under the wetsuit if we were wearing wetsuits, you know. Or sometimes you go in the short shorts and webs and all that stuff. And
what did you do for us in Korea?
In Korea, like I say, I was in the second group. Incheon and Wonsan and all that were pretty well taken by the time I got there. 51, stuff like that. But the mines in Wonsan was terrific. That was mined so bad. And not only that, is that the tide, I think they said 27 feet, it would drop, the tide would go out, you know, and it dropped 27 feet there. And so if you went ashore at the wrong time of the day, you had all kind of currents and things like that to come back with. Yeah. So they watched that pretty close.
Would you carry any sort of mine detectors at all?
Us.
Yeah.
Visual, huh?
Yeah, visual and buoys and things like that, you know. But I have some pictures in a thing here of they were so lousy with mines and everything. We'd just cut them loose, and then the Marines on the ship would shoot them as they floated out, and we're real close companions with the Marines. If we happen to get hung up on a beach for some reason or another, maybe the enemy, maybe just hung up, we'd call the Marines and they'd come in and get us, because we didn't have no weapons to fight a way out if it would be enemy. They'd come in and get us, relieve us, and we'd get the water and get back to the ship, and out we go.
You once told me you saw some submarine duty. Could you explain that to us and what you...
That was my favorite way of inserting. It sure was. A submarine underneath the water, and then go out through the hatch, and they'd fill the outer doors, and you'd just swim out undetected. Nobody knew we were around. That was my favorite way of going in.
When you say hatch, was that the torpedo tube?
Torpedo tube, yeah.
You wouldn't go out any other hatch, just the torpedo tube?
Just open the outer doors and fill it, push your tanks out before you breathe it on the whole time. Simple, piece of cake. Mm-hmm. It was a piece of cake. We very seldom went in with the raft and paddled our way all the way in. We had to take this landing craft here, put a raft alongside,
and tow it in,
jump on that, and fall into water. Yep.
While it was still moving, right?
Picket line.
Yeah.
When they come back, they pick us up the same way. It was like you might as well say a cable with a piece of garden hose on it, and it had a loop, and that boat would be coming maybe 20 mile an hour, something like that. You just hold up your arm, and catch that loop, and it flips you into the raft, and you get your butt up and get into the boat and make room for the next guy.
Stick your arm up, you're going aboard whether you want to or not. Huh?
Pardon?
I say, you stick your arm up, you're going on board whether you want to or not.
If you hit that loop, and if you don't, they'll make another pass for you. But if they miss you, another guy jumps off with you there. You're never alone on a team's.
Good companionship.
There's always two guys together.
Okay.
And
good.
so if you happen to be missed, your buddy or one of your buddies would jump in with you, and they both make another wrap and go. Never stop. It never stopped for you. So.
Now, once you went in and got to the beach, did you ever encounter any of the enemy? Did you ever see them?
Very few times. I bet you 6 or 7 times. But like we say, get on the radio, call the Marines, and
they get you
51s would come over from the carrier, and the Marines would get our butt out of there quick. And,
okay.
Yep. It was a teamwork. We have a lot of fun with the Marines. You know, we swap back and forth, who's on the beach first, and all this kind of stuff. But it's teamwork. It's strictly straight teamwork. Those guys are great when they come in there, and you're glad to see them and all this stuff, you know, but we still have our little jokes. And
sure. You not only saw action that way in Korea and so over this way, but you also had some duty, didn't you, that was kind of bringing people back to the States? Didn't you have some funeral detail?
Oh, yeah, some funeral detail. Yeah, that was after '53, though. After the truce and the signing. Yeah, they started disbanding us. The way I understand it now, I don't know. I think SEAL Team 12 don't exist anymore. I think it's SEAL Team 2.
Okay.
I said SEAL Team 12. It was no SEAL Team. It was FROGMAN.
Yeah,
I was a FROGMAN. I was not a SEAL.
Yeah.
I got out in 1960, and the SEALs come in '62.
Okay.
Under President Kennedy. I wore this logo is what I earned, and now they have this logo.
So that logo is very similar to what you have on.
This is the Navy SEAL seal today. It's the same thing as you see, except the eagle is proud with a bowed head, and the same logo as I wear right here.
Sure.
Same trident.
Yeah.
And then they get a little coin to go with pride, just to remind you that you're
part of the team. Huh?
Yeah, right.
Sure. Okay.
You mentioned tanks. You went out through the torpedo tube. You pushed the tanks out. What, you have a pair of tanks?
It was 3 of them. 3 tanks.
Okay.
Tri-tanks, yeah.
Now, they call that a closed loop or open loop, or did they closed loop? Open loop is when your bubbles go to the shore.
Oh yeah, that was the main purpose of that is get ashore. We never surfaced until you got to shore and done your duties and done your observing and report, chart, measure currents, tides, and all this stuff. What was there, and you had to remember this and write it on papers, turn it in. We didn't have cameras, so to speak. It was kind of like the Maumee River. I didn't see any clear water in Japan.
Muddy, yeah?
I mean in Korea.
Yeah.
It was about like the old Maumee River. You could see about 1.5 foot ahead of you, and that was it.
Well, probably due to the shallowness of the water, right? And the mud, stirring up the mud.
And with the tide and the surf, it was washing the sand, floating. Yeah. That's where your training paid off. You just done what you're told and how you're told to do it, and that's it. It was very interesting work, really. I don't regret a day of it. Like I said, the United States was not ready for another war, and they rushed us through everything. But everything they taught us sunk in, and you held that. It rushed. when I went in, I was just short of 18, 17 and a half, and I don't remember being a teenager. Things were moving. They moved us around so fast. We were over here in Incheon, and then we'd be over here in Wonsan, and then patrolling that ship would be. It was a anti-submarine ship too,
Okay.
and they had their duties. They would patrol for subs and stuff like that, and of course our job was mines and clearing the beaches and stuff like that. When the aircraft carriers were taken off of the aircraft, we were in the water just in case a mishap. By a little time, the Korean War was going. There was the mesh units, and we'd help with transporting
Wounded?
injured to hospital ships and things like that. Yeah. We didn't always just blow things up. We had a multitude of duties, and whatever they wanted us to do, we'd done. And like I said, it happened. They just kept us so busy that I don't remember being a teenager.
Well, most veterans, and I think all of us here have the same thought, that we went from being young, carefree boys doing what we want to do in our teenage years,
Right.
In the service, you become very responsible person.
Yeah,
you had duties to do, and you grew up pretty quick.
Time just flew. And I have friends around here that were in the underwater demolitions teams, and they said they almost had to beg and borrow and steal to get into the UDT. I didn't have that problem. I was in the line to be a engineman, and the guys come over from Coronado, and they just said, how would you like to be underwater demolitions? And didn't sound appealing,
Right.
And but I say, no, I don't know. And they say, can you swim? And yeah. And then they like people with loose skin like this, so you can be in water, you don't shrivel up and all. So he says, well, why don't you come over to Coronado and try it? And if you don't like it, you can come back into the engineman line, go on as you're going, and just carry on from there.
Sure.
But as you all know, you've seen pictures of the SEALs and the frogmen and stuff. You get in there, and all you have to do is to quit. Is ring a bell 3 times, ding, 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 and you're out. But that don't happen. They kind of push you, call you names, you're Sissy, you're Lily, all this kind. And I'm Polish, and I got my own pride, and
I didn't know that, did you?
No. But, yeah, you make up your mind you're not a quitter, right?
That's right. If you're going to make up your mind, it helps if you like what you're doing. And
sure.
As you get into it, it gets more and more interesting, keeps you in there. But you have to do certain things that you don't like. And they push you. And if you're ready to drop out, all you got to do is ring that cotton picking bell. They say, go ahead.
Yeah.
You want to be a sissy? Go ahead. Go ring it. And I'm not about.
Not going to go ring it.
Now, you had your basic training at Coronado, is that right?
Yes.
And were you stationed at any other station in San Diego at that time?
Took basic in San Diego.
You went to the basic and you went
And
right
then
from basic to Coronado?
Yeah, at the Bud School at Coronado. That was an amphibious base at that time, too. I think it's changed now. Friends tell me there's a bridge from San Diego to Coronado.
Yeah,
that was all ferry boat at that time, and that was part of I swam around Coronado Island I don't know how many times, just for swimming. Yeah. And that too is a little bit of a joke too. The ships out there in San Diego Bay, they're out there and sitting there, and their waste and everything goes into San Diego Bay. We got to thinking,
so
man,
you swim this way,
yeah,
right?
we're swimming.
Yeah,
We're swimming in this stuff.
Dirty, filthy water.
But, oh, it was. But usually it was with the full suit on, not just the trunks and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, after you got to thinking of it, hey, I'm swimming in a cesspool.
So did you go to that right from boot camp then, when you came right out of boot camp and went into the Coronado?
Right straight from Coronado. Yeah. Like I say, I made my first trip to Korea right after boot camp. Before I even got to go home on leave, they were taking this load of Marines. And they were much like us. They were a recon outfit, but I don't think they swim as much or look for the mines and things. But they were recons, and we took them to Sasebo, Japan. And then another bunch got off at Korea, and we weren't there 10 to 14 days, something like that, and came right back to the United States. And then I finished my all the other stuff I had to go through. Some of the World War II guys, that was another thing. Some of the World War II guys were a little bit bitter about being called back in.
Sure.
So they were made instructors and stuff like that. Some of them were very good, and some of them had an attitude,
Well, they had experience.
Yeah, and I don't blame them because they just got through with their war.
Right.
But mostly our instructors, some of them were DIs, I guess you call them, in
drill
Marines. Yeah, and they taught us rifle range and all that stuff, but bayonet and hand-to-hand, little bit of jiu-jitsu and some hand-to-hand stuff, because we didn't carry weapons. And yeah, I'm very proud to be a frogman. I met my buddy SEALs at gun shows and things like that, and they said, you know what? I always wanted to be a frogman, and I said, you know what? I always wanted to be a SEAL.
Yeah, both very similar.
Yeah, so
because they're more modern today, modern weapons.
Yeah, I look up to those guys, and boy, they're great. Thanks, and they're like Bin Laden and stuff like that. I'd love to, if I was 17 years old, I'd do it in a heartbeat.
Yeah. You'd have a lot of help.
Yeah. There's it's very exciting, and I don't know. I'm glad to be a Korean veteran. We get thanks from the Korean people all the time. I have a couple things here from the president of Korea. Just for instance.
Okay. Sorry, we're out of time.
Okay, that right there, yeah. From Korean president himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for being our guest, Guy. That was very interesting.
It was pleasurable, but like I say, it moves so fast. And I'm forgetting things now.
Well,
so if there's any veteran out there who'd like to be on the show, email us. I'll be glad to get in touch with you. And remember, freedom is not free. So if you see a veteran or somebody in uniform, just walk up to them, say, thank you for your service. Thank you, and good night. That's it.
That went pretty fast, didn't it? That went